extend a thank you to the Accessibility Committee. We've done a lot of work this summer, and you can look forward to a lot of informational emails coming your way, and then opportunities just to kind of get on board. Just as a reminder, syllabi this semester, the intent was to make a good faith effort to incorporate digital accessibility into your syllabi creation. And then it will be an expectation beginning in the spring of 26. So that's something that we're going to be looking forward to, helping you get ready for that more firm rollout date. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over. I don't need to spend a whole lot of time up here other than to say thank you to the Accessibility Committee. And then if you are here, I guess I could point you out. So obviously Dr. Roxie James, and then we have Valerie Case. She's back there. And then we have Kelsey Martin, who was here. She's kind of going in and out. And then I think Doug Davison he had a conflict, so he is unable to join us. But then we also have, where are we at here? Jake, we're right here. I'm like looking out into the audience. Okay, yeah, so Jake Whitaker, Tammy Brown, I'm like, that's great that you know the Accessibility Committee. It's fantastic. And then myself. So anyway, without further ado, I'll turn it over to Dr. James and let her lead the show.
Thank you. Okay, so I have 35 slides. That's a lot. I'm a fast talker. It'll be okay. 3 of the slides are just what questions do you have? So we have some built-in questions to kind of see where everyone's standing. Like Dr. Meyer said, it is a lot of review, but also some technicalities. If you're looking for more advanced accessibility things, that's going to be a call me on a Friday and we'll walk through something together. If you're like, what is alt text and why should I care? Then you're in the right place. Okay. So thank you for listening. This is also an hour and a half. So if you need to leave, come back. We are recording it. So all of that should be good to go. Okay. So some technical things first. We talked a little bit about what accessibility is. Hopefully by this point, you do know what it is. It does ensure that everyone can participate fully regardless of ability. It benefits those with visual, hearing, motor, or cognitive differences. It often helps everyone, like captions that help in noisy environments. And so the best example that I saw was to think of it in terms of a ramp. Like we built ramps for wheelchairs, but ramps are also good for people with strollers, people with crutches, people with heavy deliveries, right? So if we just do this one thing, we can help more than just this one population. So I want to give some basics of accessibility. So if you go to any kind of accessibility training, these are terms you're going to hear a lot. One is the 4 guiding principles of accessibility based on the acronym POUR: perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. I don't like this slide. So this one does a better example of explaining POUR, right? So perceivable, can people sense your content? Do you have text alternative for images? Do you have captions for videos? Do you have a photo of a dog? It needs a description then. Operable, can people use your account? Can they navigate it? Or your content, can they navigate it? So keyboard navigation is key here. Everything should work without a mouse, right? You should be able to tab through a document. No seizure triggers, avoid flashing content. So all buttons should be clickable and keyboard accessible. Understandable, can people comprehend your content, right? So avoid jargon unless it is the jargon of your profession. Keep navigation consistent. You want to use terms like home instead of domicile, right? And is it robust? Does your content work with assistive technology? Screen readers, voice control, proper headings help screen readers navigate. And we're going to talk about what that looks like in a second. Okay, but this is kind of the principles of POUR, right? Can they see it? Can they hear it? Can they use it? Is it clear? Can they navigate it? And does it work with any assistive technologies? So WCAG guidelines work with a success criteria, and that criteria is organized into 3 levels of compliance. So you have level A, which is basic, that's minimum requirements, alt text for images, basics. Double A is the standard, it's more user-friendly, it's color contrast, it's captions on videos. And then you have triple A, which is more advanced, the highest level, sign language interpretation. Why did I want to cover this. Why should you know the 3 levels? Because of the law that's requiring us all to do that. In the actual law, it says that a public entity like Northwestern needs to comply with a level A and level AA success criteria and conformance requirements specified in WCAG 2.1. So we're not at that level of sign language and interpretation, but we are at that level of just kind of the basics and the standards, okay? Why cover this wording of the law? Because it also includes social media, which will make Kelsey very happy because she told me to mention this. When we start talking about accessibility in videos, be aware that this is what we mean. So if you are posting things for your department, for the university, for a student organization, even that has to be accessible, right? There are, and we're not going to get into this, there are some versions of the law that says we have to teach our students accessibility, especially if they're posting on a discussion board post that other members of the class are going to see. I don't know who's going to do that. It won't be Dr. James though, right? So it'll be, I mean, I can give them some basic tips and tricks, but that is just another headache. But these are all things you want to consider. And the good thing about accessibility is once it becomes kind of embedded into your membrane, you will always do it. And then it starts making sense. First checkpoint, how are we doing? That was just a dump of terminology, a dump of information, just the language and the law. So far, so good? Dr. Fry.
So videos need to have like captions.
Yes.
What about if I'm embedding a video on a Blackboard from YouTube?
Then YouTube will have captions. And we'll talk about that when we get to that section. But yes,
So it doesn't
that's a
have
great question.
captions.
Yeah, how to fix that.
From my phone.
Uh-huh.
If you have something simple like the dog farm, that's pretty easy. But if I have a scientific figure, a spectra or a TLC plate or something like that, what degree of description is needed for something that is rap?
So you want it to be as clear and as concise as possible, and you want to keep it to around 125 characters. But that's also going to come later on the slide. But yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah, it's going to be fun. Next year is going to be fun, y'all. Other questions? So that was a great question. Okay, so the question was, what about things like email for class, something maybe, repeat the rest? Okay, so the email question, the accessibility committee did bring up in a meeting, and Dr. Vell, who is not here, said he would look into that. So I will, or did you say you would look into it? It was Dr. Bell. Okay, see, Tammy supports me. She said it was Dr. Bell because we brought that up about emails, because theoretically, if someone were to go in and kind of request access to your emails, then they become public documents. But what does that, yeah. So that is on our list of things to find out about. What's the level of accessibility for emails, especially if they're coming from your university email, and then handouts in class. I think the accessibility level for handouts in class is less kind of important as online, because I think this is all just about digital accessibility. So visually, like what they can see and access online. So other things, we'll move on. Great questions. Okay. All right, so now we're going to shift a little bit, and we're going to do kind of the basics of accessibility, and then we're going to go into more of the Word and Excel and PowerPoint and videos and PDFs. PDFs are last for a reason. Let's start with the basics. So these are just kind of things everyone should know, or you've probably heard this already. Font choices should be clear. Sans serif fonts are preferable, but not required, Dr. Best. Sorry, that was an argument we literally had 30 minutes ago. Text size. If it is a document, the minimum font size should be 12-point font. If it is a PowerPoint, we're going to show that later, the minimum font size should be, or 12-point font, minimum should be 24 for a PowerPoint that you're going to display. Text color and contrast. Again, this is just basics. Dark text on a light background or light text on a dark background. That's what you want to kind of stick to. You want to avoid red and green combinations for those students who might have colorblind issues. You want to avoid, and this is a big one that's going to affect a lot of us, avoid using color alone to convey meaning, right? So if you highlight something or you put it in red, accessibility says don't do that. Instead, you want to play with like headings and things like that. Jenny. No one's asking about the letters. What letters you use is up to you. That is your faculty privilege. Size. Well, that if the student is prepared for it, that should be fine. And sans serif, as long as the screen reader can read it, right? Because that is basically, that was more important when screen readers were less advanced, right? But now a screen reader can pick up on serif or sans serif, so it's less problematic. But if the screen reader can read the Greek, then you're fine. We will practice that later. You and I will figure it out, right? Or it might depend on the screen reader that they have, right? Because Dr. Meyer is going to kind of show us what the screen reader in Microsoft looks like. And so maybe we'll throw some Greek in there and see what that looks like as well. Okay. But no, that might just be something we do like separately. Okay. No. Then a note on fonts. In case you're wondering, like, why do you keep hearing serif and sans serif? It's about those little ticks at the ends of letters, right? If it doesn't have a tick, it's sans serif, minus sans meaning without, serif meaning the little ticks. A serif font does have a tick. This is a serif font because I like them. But a sans serif font would be Arial or Calibri. And so, okay. Other basics, alt text, that just describes what's in the image. Keep it concise but descriptive, and this is where AI can help, right? Google, Gemini, Claude AI, and ChatGPT, you can input an image into all of them and ask them to help you draft alt text. I do it all the time. Yes, sorry, Google Gemini, Claude AI, and ChatGPT. And you don't even need the paid version for all of them. But you put those in, I would check everything that it produces, but you put those in and ask it to help you craft alt text, and it will do that. Another accessibility basic, link text. So if you have a link that you want a student to click on, it needs to not say click here or link. Your links should be a little more descriptive than that, right? So instead of saying click here, you would say download chemistry plan of study, so that the link could stand on its own if necessary. Does that make sense? Okay. No, you can. Click here for sociology plan of study, sure. But if there's no other text on the page, would they still know what that link takes them to? Yes. Oh God, what is that? Okay, so now we are going to have Dr. Meyer come back and do some things. And we are only 16 minutes in. He was very concerned. He was like, this is a lot of information. I was like, okay. And then I added more things.
All right, thank you, Dr. James. So yeah, I get to talk about some examples, and just real quickly about the font. If you've ever had to like type in a serial number because you're registering a product, and you take a picture of that serial number and you're trying to distinguish a 0 from an O or a 1 from an L. That's an example of potential accessibility issues, just in terms of somebody looking at the document and reading the document. The document reader might not have an issue distinguishing those because it's an electronic format. But in terms of accessibility, going beyond the digital accessibility, just the visual likeness of some symbols. And you know what? We might enter in some Greek letters and see what happens. Okay. Okay, so for those who may not have heard the question, Dr. Sattler asked the question about Greek letters, and really this applies to many of us in many different disciplines. You may have special characters in your specific discipline that might not have, there might not be that character in a specific other font. So, okay, so here's an example. And this is a screen capture of a document that I created. So it's a fictitious agenda, and it is the Outreach Events Committee. So the Outreach Events Committee apparently is going to have a meeting on the 13th at 3 p.m. And so this is just a real brief snapshot of what their agenda looks like. Now, this is what the agenda actually looks like for the person that created the agenda. And then here's a screenshot of what it looks like when it is digitally accessible. So right off, you may have a preference. I know I generally highlight things to myself because it pops and I'm able to see it pretty easily. But if you look, kind of toggle back and forth between the two, one document actually does look better organized. So anyway, let's take a look at these real quickly. I think I have to stop the share. Well, I have to open up a Word document. I'm hit escape. There we go. Okay, so bear with me just a moment. So, okay, fine. I'll go back to the share here. Goodness. All right. So how do I'll just go to that document right there. We good? Okay. So Outreach Events Committee. So this is the document that is accessible. And what I could do is go to the view and then get rid of that. And you can see that the navigation pane, ooh, I don't have headings on here. That's interesting because I created this with, that's very interesting. It should have the navigation. Okay, well, I created this using headings. So if you go into home, this should say a title, and then there should be a subtitle, and then these should be, well, I guess these probably don't have headings. That's the issue. Yeah, it's a list. So I'm already recognizing something that I can improve on this document. Let me go to the actual intent of this was to go to the, for example, and actually use the document reader. So Word has a document reader. So if I just click on the first word and then I click on read aloud, it'll actually read through this document. Now, I'm going to scroll through this and we're just going to kind of quick go over this so you can kind of see the intent. And then as you listen, you'll be able to maybe see how the intent is not conveyed based on the structure of the document. So I basically have the basic information and then I've got a key here, right? So I typically will highlight things to myself yellow and say this is an action item or this is critical, or it'll be bold if there's some other special note. So this is a bold item, so that has to be completed by September 30th. These yellow items are critical and bold, which means it's critical and it has to be done by September 30th, right? But there might be something that is critical but doesn't necessarily have a deadline, might be a rolling due date. So that's the basic thing. And of course, this is the logo that if you read the bottom, that's what we're supposed to look at for feedback. So I'm going to go ahead and just let the computer do the work.
Outreach Events Committee. Agenda. September 13, 2025 at 3 p.m. Key. Critical items. Due by September 30th. Reach out to Chamber of Commerce about the annual November fundraiser. Reserve facilities for the January 2026 Community Talk. Catering Moose Lodge. Make sure no conflicts, done. Bowls for punch floral arrangements. Contact Sounds R Us review this website for errors. Build name list, done. Review our upcoming event logo and provide feedback by the end of this week.
And that's where it stops, right? So, I mean, obviously we can see the logo, right? If we're able to see the logo, we can see the image, Warmth for All, November 18th. And so we might be able to provide feedback for that. What I did in the other version was if I scroll down and click on alt text, there actually is an alt text here. So this is what the document reader should read on the good version. And what we're learning is that the version of Word that is on this computer actually won't read the alt text. There is a solution to that, but I can just basically select all of that by hitting Control A and then hit Control C. And then in the good version, get rid of this. I could type in caption and just paste it in. So, and I could even, type in here caption for logo. That way it's a foolproof thing. So even if the document reader doesn't pick up on the alt text, you can still include a caption that would then summarize what is in the image. So thoughts, comments, questions? Yes, I have a question. You found the treasure hunt item because I created, so I had the bad version and then I created the good version basically by going in and trying to do the title and the headings and things. And then I was so excited, I sent it off to the committee and I said, here's the bad version, here's the good version. And before anybody could catch the error, I sent a quick reply. And so let me back up. The question was, if we scroll down and look at this, review this website, somebody accurately pointed out correctly that is still not accessible, right? Because it says this website, but there's not any descriptor there. So my long reply to that was, I tried to make it an intentional thing, but it was not intentional. But so that is the Easter egg. That's the treasure hunt item. You're right. That is not accessible. I should have said review outreach committee homepage or whatever special link. And you can still have a word that is highlighted with a shortcut, but there needs to be some descriptor attached to it somehow. So yeah, good catch. Go ahead.
How does that get read by the screen reader? Does it, I mean, does it just read the text?
Yes.
And it doesn't say like this.
Yeah, so the question was, how does that get read by the screen reader? So I'm going to hit read aloud right here. I'm going to start right at review.
Review this website for errors, critical.
Okay, so then what I would have to do is, let me set the microphone down for a second. Okay, so let's try this.
Review this website, www.communityoutreach.com, for errors, critical item, do say.
Okay, so if you write it out, it'll read it now. I think that if it is a really complicated URL, that could be problematic, right? Because there's like W's, X's, Y's, underscore, 1, 2, question mark, and all those sorts of things. But you could still insert a descriptor. Instead of saying it's www dot, you could just say that it is the community outreach homepage. And if you actually click on this, it's actually a fake web page. But anyway, okay. Other questions? Yes. So the question was, do we want you to include a caption even if you use alt text? And Dr. James stood up, so she has an answer.
I think it's for if you are dealing with older programs, right? So the reason he did that was because this is Microsoft like 2016, 19, something like that. but only Microsoft 365 will read in alt text. And so you kind of have to kind of guess or play, or it's just best practice if you have that just in case, because you might have a student who only has the read aloud and Microsoft 2060. I have 2060 in my office, so yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to find the account here. So file, there it is. Yeah, 2021. So, and if you're like me, I lag behind in terms of updating the software because it requires you to restart your computer, and I've got too many windows open. So, it's motivation for closing down some of those windows.
You never turn off your computer.
And I don't turn off my computer. Sorry.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Okay, other questions? Just for fun.
There we go, Judy.
Yes.
That's not. So what we're going to do is insert. Oh, yeah. Okay. Alpha and beta. Oh, we have to click insert though. Oh, and mu. Oh. I've got to have mu. There we go. Okay. So let's see what happens. And home review. There it is.
Floral arrangements. Alpha beta. Contact sounds are us.
Oh, wow. There's no love from you. Well, that'd be interesting but I think the greater point here was that if we are really being font prescriptive to ourselves and we choose something, different, there might not be, it might not exist in those other fonts if we're looking at, yeah, okay. Calibri, yeah. Well, I mean, so I don't want to take up too much time experimenting, but it does recognize some Greek letters, and so it might recognize some special characters. And if you were in business, I imagine there are probably, in particular math, probably some special characters that you'd want to test first. So that was a good question. So the question was, do we have a descriptor for mu? And I guess we could type in there mu, right? So then if we hit this.
This also isn't the only words.
Floral arrange.
Right.
There's standalone, if you actually are, you probably have your own screen, standalone program. They're free versions.
So there were two comments for those on Zoom. One was from Dr. Ledbetter. He was asking, do we have to, maybe what we could do is type in a descriptor for mu since it didn't recognize it. And then Dr. Fry mentioned that there are different screen readers that are out there, and Microsoft Word is the one that we're using now. It may have more limitations than what students might be using. If you have a student that approaches you and talks to you about what it is they're using, that could be really helpful. Or you could throw it out there to the students and say, if you are using a reader, let me know what version, and I'll see what I can do to accommodate. Another question, yes.
Yes, sort of along this line. I have
Yeah, so the question was, what if I have a mathematical function such as an integral or maybe differentiation, some kind of a function? I think what you could do is probably use the equation or the text as you would normally use it, and then you could create a caption for that and say, this is the integral of an exponential function. And I don't know how detailed you'd have to get, but there might be a need to add. I would imagine as we move forward, software packages are going to become more sophisticated and they're going to be more capable of reading things. I mean, if you look at and this is for the math and the science folks, or statisticians, but if you look at what Wolfram Alpha has been able to accomplish in the past 5 to 10 years, they've taken, very difficult equations, and it required specific syntax to enter it in. And now they've converted that to being almost natural language. Like you can type in something in multiple formats and it will interpret that. So I imagine that the software packages are going to become more sophisticated and be able to read things like integrals. As of right now, I mean, test it, see what happens, see if it can read the functions. I mean, what we need to do is make a good faith effort that we are making our documents digitally accessible. If we come to a point where there's a function that we just can't quite to be read exactly the way that we want it to be read, but we've put in a good faith effort. I mean, that doesn't mean pull everything down off the web because that one little thing doesn't work. It means, well, we'll do what we can, and then we'll accommodate as best we can. Okay. I am going to turn this back over to Dr. Roxie James, very capable hands, and I'm not going to touch anything else on the screen. Do we have any questions in the chat? Are we good? No questions? Okay, all right.
Thank you. And to support Dr. Meyer's point, it's not just us affected by this law. Most of our third-party vendors who are creating those textbooks and programs that we're using in class, they're also required by law to make all of their stuff accessible. So I would check to see what they're doing, especially if you're using something like Math Lab or whatever we use. Oh, gosh. Okay. Color contrast. Oh. Tandy, what was your question about color? In the chat?
I was just going to ask, we just updated the undergraduate research template for students, and it has red prompts in it. Do I need to change the font color on those? It met the accessibility requirements when we reviewed it. I guess it was a month or so ago.
Are you using red for emphasis or anything
No,
else?
it is just the prompts that guide students as what needs to be included in a particular question or section.
So if a student printed it on a black and white printer, would they still be able to tell that those are the prompts?
I believe so. If there are other IRB members here, can you give me your input? I know we had looked at that specifically.
I'll look into if it doesn't, if it's not there for a specific purpose, it should be fine. I think I said that right.
Okay.
If it's just decorative, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So the red on the white should be fine. Now, if that is there for a specific reason, then that's an issue, but that should be fine.
Okay. Thank you. I was hoping I didn't have to go back and do that over.
Exactly. No, you're fine. We're not reinventing the wheel. It's okay. So what we want to do now is shift a little bit and talk about some of the tips and tricks in each of these programs. This is not exhaustive. There is so much more you can do. This is just kind of the basics. If you can do this, then you're 80% of the way there, right? So I have it broken down into the different, 3 different things. For Microsoft, kind of the 3 we probably use the most often, videos, because I also feel that's something we use the most often, and PDFs, which are just a headache. So we're gonna start with Microsoft. Oh my God, sorry. Logical reading, order, and navigation. So you want to make sure your content flows top to bottom, left to right for the screen reader. You want to avoid text boxes in Microsoft Word as well, because a screen reader will typically skip over them. You want to use page breaks and not enters if you're separating things on separate pages. And you want to use headings because that's how a screen reader will navigate. So instead of making the text bigger or bolder on your own, you want to use the actual built-in heading styles. And so to do that, you're going to go to the Home tab, and then you're going to navigate to styles, and then you're going to see something that looks a little like this, right? And so you want to go in kind of descending order without skipping heading tag. So you would start with your title, maybe your subtitle if you have one, and then heading 1, heading 2, and then your normal, and that's for your normal text. Here's the thing, you can tweak all of these. Your title doesn't have to look like that. Your headings don't have to look like that. Your normal text don't have to look like that, right? So if you type it out, you can then highlight the text itself and then right click on this and say update to meet whatever format you have. Right? And so now you've tagged that language and it still looks the way you want it to look, right? I don't want you to think that accessibility means you have to make it look a certain way. You can make it look however you want. It's mostly about the back end, the hidden things that we can't see. So far, so good. That was a lot of information.
So I often have diagrams that I make,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a diagram. I also have a text box.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's a diagram. Do I just put all that in alt text?
Mm-hmm. Yep. You would put your, yes, you would put your alt text instead of the text box, you would put that in alt text. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay. Alt text, everyone's favorite thing. Very basic for those of you who have not figured that out yet. You're going to right click on your image. You're going to select edit alt text, and then you want to start with maybe image of, photo of. You want to include, if an image has text, you want to include that in your alt text as well. You want to keep it to 125 characters. And if it's decorative, that means the text or the image has nothing to do with the rest of the text. You want to mark it as decorative. Good so far? Nothing mind-boggling? Nothing earth-shattering? Beautiful. If you, tables in Word, everyone's favorite thing. Do not use this. So you see how it says insert table and you just kind of click the buttons you need. You don't want to do that anymore for accessibility. You want to actually go to the insert table link. Okay? Why? Because when you go to the insert table link, then you can go in and play with it, and it's not automatically set as accessible when you build it on your own. If you build it using one of the kind of made ones, it's automatically, it starts off as accessible as it can get before you go in and like break things. I'm saying use the insert table feature.
The text there that says insert table and not the like the little highlighting the squares.
Yes. Yes.
Why does that not work?
Yes, because it's not automatically built as accessible. And so then you can go in and change it.
I never clicked that.
Okay, here we go. So I'm just going to share my screen so everyone sees everything. Yes, you can also do that. I was trying to do it the easy way, Melissa. That's okay.
Oh, okay. So like
That's okay. Yes, yes,
okay.
yes.
And so insert table just has it pre-formatted.
Pre-formatted. You can still go in and tweak things, but instead of doing this, why, Dr. Meyer? Why? Instead of going in and doing this, just go to insert table. You figure out how many you want to do. And then when you have your table design, oh my God. Sorry, Zoom, sorry. And then when you have your kind of table design, then you can go in and tweak it however you want. Better. Or if you have always done it this way and you don't want to change, go ahead and insert it that way. However, if you do something like this, you're still going to have to highlight it And then you're going to have to go in and probably reformat it anyway. That's okay. That's okay. Whatever makes your life better. I have destroyed Dr. Meyer's document. I'm sorry, Dr. Meyer. There we go. Okay. Once you add your data, then you go into the design tab here. Make sure this header row is checked, because that just makes your header row, when the screen reader goes in, it now has a designated header row, and now it knows how to kind of read the table. His question was, what if I have an image in a table? Uh-huh. I'm pretty sure that would be fine as long as the image has an alt text, right? So then their reader, if it's still labeled with a header row, it would still read the table in order. And then when it gets to that image in the table, it would read your alt text. Okay. I was joking, I'm sorry. Other questions? So far, so good? Okay. Okay. You also want to add descriptive alt text to tables. So to do that, once your table is done, images are in and alt texted, you want to right click on the table. You want to select table properties, and then this lovely box is going to pop up. When this pops up, you want to go to alt text, give it a title, give it a description. And again, this is just to help the screen reader. Now, let's say you have a table that spans multiple pages, then you need a running header. Yes, Sarah.
What if this title is just right above the table?
Yeah, Sarah, listen. I didn't make the accessibility rules. I'm just here to help you make it make sense. It's the same title. Yeah, it's a lot of redundancies. It's okay. You'll survive. All right, so if you have a table that goes longer than one page, you want to have a running header. Okay, so that same table properties link, instead of going to alt text, you would go to row, and you want to have repeat as header row at the top of each page selected. I didn't select it here, but that's what you'd like. And you want to uncheck the allow row to break across pages. So far, so good? That is on the handout. A lot of this is just back-end stuff that we don't even see. I know, I apologize, I'm sorry, yes. Yes. If the table is going to be longer than one page. So the question was, when do we uncheck allow row to break across pages? If your table is going to span multiple pages, you uncheck that first one and check the second one instead. So far, so good. I know. I see like bored faces and confused faces, and I don't know. Yeah, I know. Typically a class thinks. Okay, PowerPoint. Everything is going to get less technical. I just went more technical with Word because everything that you can do in Word, you'll probably be able to do in PowerPoint and Excel, except for a few different things. When you're using PowerPoint for your presentations, not this one is not accessible. But you want to make sure that you use, a slide layout. So whenever you add a new slide, don't just add a blank slide and then add your own stuff to it. That will not work. Make sure you already have a predetermined slide layout, pre-designed slide layout. You want to make sure every title or every slide has a title, even if you hide it, right? Because the title is what the screen reader is going to read. And you want to check your reading order. And that's probably the most important thing with PowerPoints, is to show you and look at how to arrange and check the reading order. So to do that, you are going to go to your home tab, you're going to click arrange, and you're going to click section pane. So again, do not judge me, but I'm going to show you what that looks like. So home, arrange is right here, and then section pane. and it's going to pop up here to your right. And then that is the order. Oh, I did change that one. I changed this slide specifically so that it would have the title and the text box first. But I think if I go to another slide, it is not in that order at all. Yeah, so the first thing is the arrow, if you look at this slide. But as you're building it, just kind of check your reading order, making sure it kind of matches what a screen reader will do. So I'm gonna go here and then here and then here. Dr. Sadler. No. Yeah, you can still call them clouds, and it'll just read it in the order of the slide at that point. Yeah.
So I often will, I don't like the animation.
Mhm.
I will have slide 1, slide 2, I have the same information,
Mhm.
but I added in. That was quite good. Let's be forward one.
So I think that's where titles will come into play. So the question was, what if you have two very similar slides, but one has some information, one has more information? I do it if I'm showing like right and wrong in terms of a sentence. What you can do is in your title, you can say incorrect or incomplete, and then the next title will say complete. So they know they're probably going to hear this again. Does that make sense? Okay.
Or I do like sort of, I have like a set. I have like a type that gives all of it. And it's
Right. You can hide some things on the reading pane. You can. I haven't played around with what that does with the reader itself, but that is something I will add to my list to do.
I know if it's a PDF, like take things.
Yes.
Make them decorative.
Yes. You would make it a decorative part and then it would just kind of skip over it at that point. But if you upload the actual PowerPoints, it might read the entire slide. Yeah. So someone mentioned, Dr. Fry mentioned that if it's a PDF, you can skip that kind of extra slide. But if it is the actual PowerPoint, the reader might read everything. Wait, you had a question.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's all right. Yes. So the question was, if you have a blank slide, does it need a title? So yes, here's the trick. You give it a title, hide it. Yes, yes, you would set it to a different, like a white font if it's a white, yes. Yes, 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 yes. Uh-oh. Okay.
Okay, so the fix would be I can actually make the PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm.
But in class, I
Yes. Yes. So the question was, the fix could be the PowerPoint that we give the students might actually have that last slide with all of the information. And in class, you could show the different slides as it kind of scaffolds, to use an education term. Mm-hmm. So animations is a different sort of headache. So the question was about animations in a slide. Animations is a different sort of headache in PowerPoint. If you want the reader to read the animations, you need to make sure they're in the order that you want it to happen. If you are just posting the slide to Blackboard, just mark them all as decorative, and then the screen reader will skip over it. So where's it good? Okay, gonna move on, I'm sorry. Okay, oh good. Sorry, we went back to Word, okay. Same thing, fonts and colors, you wanna use a simple font. 25 points or larger, high contrast colors like the black and white here. So the fancy PowerPoint, the PowerPoint 365 that you can log into through the university website, will auto-generate captions during live presentations. So you would go to slideshow and you would go to use subtitles. If you were using that, it's not 100% accurate, but it is helpful if you're giving a live presentation, maybe via Zoom. Animations and transitions, use sparingly, but avoid flashy animations that might trigger seizures, right? So we're not saying don't use it, but label them and maybe label them as decorative if you're just giving them the information. And then alt text, like with Word, added to all of your images. You will never escape alt text, ever. Excel, I don't use Excel as much as I would like. So I just kind of gave the big basics here. Simple is best. You want to avoid having more than one piece of data in a cell. For accessibility purposes, you want to make sure you kind of rename your sheets. So at the bottom, when you open it, it says sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. Go ahead and rename those. That is a simple right-click rename. Oh, this was fun. Yeah, okay. You want to make sure the top row of your table is properly marked as a header in Excel. Okay. So to do that, you would put your data in, select your data range. You want to then go to insert at the top, table, check my table has headers here. Okay. When you do that, it's going to reformat it, but then you go into the design tab, just like the one in Word, and you make it look the way you want it to look. So far, so good? Beautiful. Last thing for Microsoft, every Microsoft program moving forward has a built-in accessibility checker. It is not 100% accurate, but it is going to get you as close as you need to get, okay? To do that, you want to go to the review tab and you want to go to check accessibility, and that's in all of them. Okay. It depends on the version. My version is only up there. It's not down there for me. I'm in 2016. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Videos. Okay. Captions. Closed captions are probably the most important thing for video accessibility. They help people who are deaf or hard of hearing, and also people who are watching in a noisy environment. Here's the easiest solution. I'm not saying it's the only solution, but the easiest one. It's to use YouTube auto caption. So when you upload a video to YouTube, YouTube will then generate automatic captions, and you can edit them for accuracy because they're only about 80% correct to begin with. You would download the caption file and fix it. This is also where AI can help, just kind of run it through AI to help it check what is there. There are other things you can do, right? So let's say, and I didn't put this all on the slide because that was like 11 o'clock last night. But let's say you have a video and there are images in the video, or there are things in the video that aren't speaking, but you still want to bring attention to it. So you would have a separate document for audio descriptions. The other thing to do, an easier thing might be to have a transcript. So a text transcript is a good alternative. It allows someone to read the content without watching the video. A rule of thumb that I use in my classes is if I post a video, I might not even deal with captions. I'll just post the transcript, right? And so I say you can watch the video or use a screen reader to read the transcript, which has all of the same information. Here we go. No, this is my least like, oh God, this in PDFs. Yeah. So Zoom also does captioning, right? I don't know if you, it's not set here, but you can like hit closed captioning on Zoom. And if you are recording it, it will also record the closed captions. For now, it will be enough. But if you're reading from a transcript, you could probably also upload the transcript. So they'll have the Zoom video with the closed captioning and the transcript. So his question was about Zoom for my people on Zoom. His question was about Zoom lectures, like how do we deal with that? Thank you. You made my Friday better because I was like, no questions about videos. Okay, so this is actually the bane of everyone's existence. PDF. Yeah. Why? Were you moaning for that? Yeah, here we go. Okay, the majority of the documents on our website, on Blackboard, are probably PDF documents. And so here's where problems come into play. First of all, nothing works. The best way to make an accessible PDF is to make sure that your source document, your original document, is accessible before saving it. Here's the catch. Even if you do that, when you save it to a PDF, it still might have some accessibility issues because that's how life works. You want to tag a PDF as you're saving it. So when you're saving a document as a PDF, you want to make sure you save it with tags. So to do that, when you go to your save box, you want to click options, and that's going to pop up, and you'll see the third one down says enable accessibility and reflow with tagged Adobe PDF. That is one way. So what that does is it creates a structure that assistive technologies can read. Another simple test is open up your document, your PDF document, and see if you can just kind of tab through it without using your mouse. Another test would be to use a free screen reader and have it read through your document. This is when the issue comes into play. Let's say you are copying something from a textbook, right? And maybe your student worker didn't scan it nicely. Right? And so then you try to upload it to PDF. And I don't know if you all have seen that dialog box that pops up that says, do you want me to read this document for accessible text? You should be saying yes, even though it might take 30 minutes. That's especially true if you are scanning a document in, not a document you created from Word or PowerPoint or Excel. But if it's a scan of a book, let the PDF accessibility kind of checker check it for accessibility. And so what it does is it reads your document to see if it can be read. And if things can't be read, then you'll get another alert that says, we can't read certain parts of this. And then you might have to go back and rescan your document. Did that make sense? I feel like I just rambled. I'm sorry. Okay. Adobe has a checker. It's not the best checker, but you know, they're trying. Sorry, I need to move that out of the way. So to get to the checker, it's a bit of a headache. Who has not used the Adobe Accessibility Checker before? Okay. Oh, so here's how you get there. So first, you're gonna go to this list of tools. We all have access to Adobe Creative Cloud, like the university has access to it. You just have to request access to get access to it. That was a whole sentence. So when you get into it, you're going to scroll until you see this link here that says prepare for accessibility. Then you're going to click that, and then this is going to pop up. And you have some options here. Automatically tag a PDF, change your reading options, check for accessibility, open accessibility report. You cannot open a report until you check for it first, obviously. Identify form fields, add alt text, use setup assistant, and fix reading order. Okay, I've clicked all of those buttons. Most of them give me a headache, but they do kind of sort of sometimes walk you through it. But the button we're concerned with here is check for accessibility. When you click check for accessibility, this pops up. It still hasn't checked it. We're 3 clicks in. So accessibility checker options, It's gonna create an accessibility report that's gonna live on the right side of your document. You want it to check all of the pages, and then these are just kind of the things they're checking. Okay, so once you proof that, you want to hit start checking. It's going to check your document, and then you're going to get a report that looks like this. If you're using the text that I used, which was a scanned copy of a book. Okay, so it'll tell you what the issues are. It'll tell you things that have passed, things that have failed. And so then what you do, and I ran out of space, but you will right click on something that has failed, and theoretically, it will take you to a pop-up box that says, this is how you fix it. It doesn't always make sense, but it's there. Okay? Yeah. Explain why it can't fix it. Yeah. So it'll either say fix or explain how to fix, or here's the problem. Now, if you do make your documents accessible before you make them, turn them into a PDF, you won't have, what is that, like 7 fixes? You will have probably like 2 or 3, and they have mostly to do with tagging and titles. And those are very easy, very quick fixes. So the question was, does the university have a preference if we use PDF or Word or other files? So we didn't have to mess with this, Dr. Meyer? I don't think so. Now, what? Yes. So the other question was, if it goes on the website, it has to be PDF, and I think the answer is yes for that. Yes. Yes, so Blackboard can be whatever, as long as it's accessible. But if you are uploading something to the actual university website, PDF is preferable. So many headaches. Okay. This was just us ranting in an email about PDFs, the accessibility committee. I think we covered all of this. There's no getting around the fact that Adobe's tools are clunky, and fixing PDFs is going to be a major problem, and tables especially are nightmares. And once a document is turned into a PDF, there are more things to change, and some of those things may not be easy to comprehend. So I wanted to show you, like, we are also the accessibility committee. Don't assume that we know everything, because it's usually like a group email of, I can't look at this anymore. And so then we kind of have to help each other out. Yeah. Okay. Checkpoint 3. That was a lot of information. Here we go. Dr. Ledbetter. Mm-hmm. 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 Yes. So the question was, if he pulls an academic paper from somewhere else and posts it to Blackboard, is he responsible for making it accessible? The short answer is yes. Moving forward, most places like that are going to require you to make it accessible before they even publish it. But if you're talking about older documents, then probably. I know. Okay, so the question was, what if you have to make copies of an actual textbook? Then you want to make sure the copies are clear enough to where when you scan it, the PDF reader will then go in, and if it's able to read the text, you'll be fine. Here's the trick, if you don't want to use the reader. Can you highlight the text in the book copy? If the answer is yes, then it's probably pretty decently accessible. If you can't highlight it, like if you go to like highlight and it starts dragging your text, then it's more or less an image, and then we have an issue.
Then I would take it to the print shop, because they've got like a lot of experience and stuff, and they can
It's their job.
Flatter than
So the suggestion was, it might be better to take it, if you have a physical book, take it to the print shop and let them kind of scan it and deal with that on their end.
If you have a clean scan to start with, that's going to make the
Mhm. Searchable, yes. Other questions? I mean, we're basically done. I have 2 more slides. They're both about resources. So now is the time for all of your questions, and I'm going to field some of this to the accessibility committee as well. So,
Can I ask a question?
oh, who's talking?
Dr. James, this is Stockmeyer.
Okay.
I'm using an OpenStax textbook in one of my classes, and the primary format that students use is it's a freely available PDF. And so I'm thinking, hey, there's going to be some kind of conflict here between using OpenStax material that's freely available, but it's primarily in PDF format. I mean, I see this becoming kind of a problem.
No, if it's an OER like that, most OERs are also going to be made accessible as well. Yes. So it shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, it's probably already accessible unless it's an older version, but if it's an OER, it's probably more updated to begin with. So it's probably already set and you wouldn't have to do anything.
Okay.
Yes, so Dr. Sattler said that most of OpenStax is already accessible. So, okay. We have another Zoom question. Okay. You know, that's why I made it last. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, so that is fine. So the question was, if you have a document that you just can't make accessible, PDF will help you tag it by adding all of the appropriate reference information. And then it will tag it then as accessible because it could then tell the reader, which will tell the student or whoever, where they could go to get a more accessible version. Okay. So it was a question about how descriptive alt text should be, the second one. So rather than saying a structure of a molecule, I would say a structure of specific molecule X or something like that. Mm-hmm. Oh, I handwrite all the time. So his question was about upper division writing on the chalkboard. Is this a face-to-face course or an face-to-face? It doesn't matter. We're only concerned with digital, right? Face-to-face, that's a different headache. But yeah, now if you decide to record those lectures, then we might have some issues. He said, heavens no. So then we're good. We're good. Okay, Dr. Meharry, and then I'm gonna come back. I would start treating that maybe as an image, right? And then just alt texting it, maybe. Yeah. Right. Okay. So when you send it to the students, what kind of PDF? Yeah. That because it's handwritten, right? It's handwritten and then it's scanned. Okay, I think that's also on my to check. Yeah. Yes. So the question is about handwriting on documents and then turning that into a PDF. So now you have a PDF with handwriting on it. Yes? Okay. That is also a question. And I still have that question written down. We're looking into it and what that looks like. Did everyone follow that question?
Like market as image. I mean, I think that's
Yeah. Yeah. If you do that though. That goes back to Dr. Meharry's, which I wrote down. I wrote down emails, levels of accessibility concern. And so maybe that is the fix, right? Instead of posting it, just email it. But do not take that as law. We have to look into things. So the question is, how do we handle handwritten notes, handwritten documents that we then want to give to students for those on Zoom? And Dr. Meyer has walked all the way down the stairs because he has thoughts.
Okay, so something that occurred to me is that, so this question is really about, we're in class, I'm taking notes on the board, it's digitized, and then as a resource, I want to provide those notes to students after class. Maybe they missed class and they'll have access to it, or maybe they were there, but they'll have a chance to look at it again. Something that you might be able to do in the alt text. I mean, nobody wants you to recreate like the entire transcript from what happened in class in an alt text, but it could be the alt text of that slide could be, this is an example from section 4.5 of the text, very similar to the example on page 24. And so you could give some specifics in terms of what it is about without having to go through all the detail. And I think we'll, right. So the comments for those on Zoom was basically, we've got an entire class session where we have multiple slides. And so how do we, you might have one slide that speaks to a specific example, but then you've got a lot of notes. Let's continue to explore that with each other, and we'll see if we can get some solutions. Again, I anticipate that software packages are going to improve in their, increase in their sophistication to handle that, but that's something that is, it's on our radar. Yeah, we'll look into that. Yeah.
I know there's some people, some members of staff here. Are there any questions you all have? Y'all are just like, oh God. No, let's go. So I think our system is designed already to be accessible for that. So it is all.
The question was about online forums and do we have to edit those? And Dr. James has it under control. Here she is.
I think, okay, I'm so sorry, my people on Zoom. I think the system is already set to be accessible, like the black and white and the certain type of font. So I wouldn't worry about that. Just go ahead and build the forms as normal. Yeah. Of the software. So the question was about homework software, like online homework software. If it is a third-party vendor, they are also susceptible to this law. So they have to have things that are accessible. That is not on us. Thank God. Other questions? Other questions? I hope this helped. If not, come find me. Go find Dr. Meyer, actually. Go find him. And so next month, October 5th, I don't know dates. The first Friday in October, we're going to have a hands-on session in Benson Hall in the second floor in the computer labs. If you want to show up and we can work on actual documents, so it's not just the two of us here talking, and we can work on what that looks like and click around on some things and break some things. We're going to have a session at 11 and a session at 1. It says 11 is for staff and 1 is for faculty, but if you can't make it to one and can make it to the other, just show up at the time that works best for you. And then we're going to have another one in November, that first Friday, same thing, just in case you can't make the one in October, you can come to the one in November. And all of this is just getting us ready for the spring. Okay. Other than that, last minute, we did update our website. So for staff, you all don't have access to Blackboard, but we do have an accessibility website. So it's northwestern.edu/accessibility. And it's going to have copies of this once I make it accessible. It's going to have links to external websites. And we also have, Northwestern has a YouTube playlist for accessibility. So I'm going to go to the accessibility website. It is not pretty. Listen, Sarah, listen. I was left to my own devices, which you should not do. Okay. www.northwestern.nwosu.edu/accessibility. It is going to have the members here. If you click on that, it'll take you to our email address. I created a form. It's very basic. What's your name? What's your email? What's your accessibility question? That currently goes to Dr. Meyer. He did not know that, but now he does. Eventually, we're going to have this handout and the checklist that we gave in person. We have some external links. One is the USGSA content creation. Oh my God, calm down. Okay, so it will, but if you go here, this is the government site for Section 508, and this is really good resources. It talks about documents, PDFs, presentations, spreadsheets, video and audio, alt text. We also have, oh my God, sorry, that was on Zoom. We also have access to the Web AIM. If you're talking about big names in accessibility, it's gonna get there. It's gonna get there. I know. That is outside of the scope of my power. But this is probably one of the big names in accessibility. WebAIM also has a color contrast checker. And so if you're worried about whether or not the color on your documents or on your website are accessible, here's a good place to go. They also have Wave. They designed a checker called Wave that if you have it built in, it will check your website for you. So I really, really, really suggest people start clicking around on Web AIM. And then if you go to our YouTube playlist, I don't think any of us actually created any of these videos. I think Valerie just linked them. She's like, yes, I did. But it is linked through Northwestern's YouTube channel. And so I just kind of embedded that there. And as things come in, we'll post that here and to the Blackboard site. So the Blackboard site has the syllabus stuff for the faculty. I think that's it. Any other questions, comments, concerns? It is 2:30 on a Friday. Yes, that is another thing. If you find a source that you think is helpful, this actually came from a section of a source from Dr. Fry, because I think she sent something else, and I just started clicking around and I thought this would be good overall. If you find a source, go ahead and submit it in that accessibility form that's going to go to Dr. Meyer. Yeah. Other questions? Again, I hope this was helpful. It was very basic. If you want to get into more intricacies, like how to tag a PDF, I know how to do that now, but I didn't want to give you a headache on a Friday. Just email one of us on the committee and let us know. If you have something that you think we need to do another presentation on, let us know. If there is something that you think other people might be interested in as well, let us know, and we'll do a quick little kind of link there as well. Other than that, I think I'm done. Dr. Meyer?
All right, thank you, Dr. James. And I would say that this is a accessibility basic plus, because there was a little bit more than what we had initially. And just as a reminder, the upcoming opportunities will not be front loaded with a bunch of information. So you'll come and it'll be a work session. There may be some things that we'll pull up and show to answer questions, but it is designed to be a work session for you. So bring your documents, bring a laptop, or use the computers that are in the room, and we'll get to task. We'll get some things done. So, and as she said, send me questions as you have them and suggestions, and I will gleefully open up my inbox and go through the messages. All right. Thank you all. Appreciate you being here.